Ladies and gentlemen of the council, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today and present a response in regards to the proposed rent increase. Let me start off by saying that the homeowners understand that it's the legal right of the park ownership to request a rent increase. It'd be foolish to believe that they wouldn't do other than what they feel is in their best interest, and certainly for any corporation, that is to maximize profits. However, to maximize profits at the expense of a captive marketplace is irresponsible.
Okay, so if I can push that button and see if your podium will raise up, or if it's already at the, you might be at the limit. Oh no, you got a little
Tall guy.
Okay. There you go. That might help.
All right. This is especially true in light of the fact that the ownership has proven itself to be grossly inadequate in satisfying the responsibilities to the homeowners. Over the year, the park has fallen into a shocking state of disrepair and neglect. This is due not only to the inevitable aging of the park, but also to the lack of proper and responsible maintenance. Each homeowner in the park agreed to live in this community with a signed agreement in regard to what amenities would be available, what maintenance would be done on the grounds, and the understanding that the park would be maintained as a safe and clean living environment. To speak plainly, the ownership has failed to live up to this contract. Maintenance is performed only rarely, and rarely in any capacity designed to prevent failure. Problems are addressed only when the system has hit a state of catastrophic disrepair. When the city's own inspector was called to survey the scene, he found over 30 items that were health and safety violations alone. I'd propose that what he found was simply the start. To name only a few of the issues we faced. Last summer, at the height of the heat wave, the pool filtration system broke down. For over 6 weeks, the pool was unavailable to the homeowners due to the dangerous unsanitary conditions. This is despite the numerous complaints placed by the homeowners who pay to use the pool. The fencing around the park is repaired only when it begins to fall onto the homes of the homeowners. The average cost per linear foot to replace a fence is $15 to $20. There's approximately half a mile of fencing on the north and west side of the park. We've been informed that $1,000 a month is budgeted for fencing repair. Simple math dictates that this budget, the ownership should be able to replace the entire fence within about 4 years. At the last rent hearing 2 years ago, Sam Abed himself said he'd like to see the fencing around the park replaced. To date, a mere 10% of the fencing has been replaced. The park's entire electrical system went offline during the height of the heat wave last summer as well. In a community made up of families, young children, and retired seniors, this is more than just an inconvenience. This is a major health risk. As the park is master metered, state law states the responsibility of maintaining the electrical system falls onto the park. Complaints were lodged 2 years ago about the state of the walkways in the park. These same walkways were noted by the city code enforcement officer during the most recent inspection. Residents have asked repeatedly for repairs on these sidewalks, noting a level of danger to the elderly residents as a tripping hazard. In those 2 years, nothing's been done. The park has recently re-stenciled the space numbers in front of the homes, and in less than a year they're already fading and becoming unreadable. This is more than just a cosmetic issue, as this labeling is critical to quickly locate the units, not only for guests but for emergency services as well. The layout and enumeration of the park is quite confusing to those not familiar with it, and to not have adequate and clear identification is an unnecessary safety risk considering how little of an expense it is. During his inspection, Al Bates, the Code and Compliance Officer, noted that only one smoke detector in the entire park's common areas worked. The library, Girl Scout room, card room, exercise room, billiard room, West Laundry room, all had dysfunctional smoke detectors. With the park's history of only addressing issues once they have catastrophically failed, imagine the danger the situation poses. A lack of smoke detection endangers the common areas, every homeowner in the park, and the neighborhoods that surround the park, which would equally be threatened were a fire to break out. These are just a sampling of the many issues the homeowners have faced. They very clearly illustrate the problems for which we are confronted. To move on, there are other issues present which are larger and far more serious than just a failure to maintain the park. The employees of the park have been known to, during working hours, take on independent contract work for some of the homeowners. This is not only illegal, as they're not licensed contractors, they're clearly doing work that exceeds the threshold set by the state. It is also unethical. I myself was approached by one of the maintenance employees when I first moved in about having him tend to my yard. I politely declined. Not soon after, I got a notice in the mail citing me for weeds in my yard. I moved that couldn't help but feel that was retribution. For over a year, there was complaints that were shared not only with the on-site management, but also the corporate management about the sexual misconduct of the park's employees. These range from simple favoritism of the female residents to unwanted sexual advances. Finally, after more than a year of complaints by the homeowners, one of the guilty members of maintenance was fired. In a family park, to have these types of complaints ignored and belittled is not only disrespectful, it's negligent and dangerous. There have been documented complaints about the speed in which the park's own employees drive through the park. These complaints have been scoffed at. The people lodging the complaints have been ridiculed, both verbally and written. We worry that nothing will be done until somebody's physically injured, despite our repeated warnings. As I'm sure you can see, the pattern here is clear. As homeowners, we're not treated as people with rights, but rather as a captive population who must adhere to the whims of management, regardless of whether or not those whims are safe and responsible. It's our understanding that the corporate management oversees many parks. Are they all experiencing these issues? If there are established SOPs for how the park is to be managed and maintained, we suspect they're being intentionally ignored. There appears to be a major disconnect between the on-site management staff and the corporate management staff. The on-site management staff acts with impunity and without apparent supervision. They very certainly act without accountability to either the park or the homeowners. This negligence is compounded by the employees of the park, who have the same attitude of disrespect. I suspect that this attitude is being either ignored or condoned by the upper management. I think it's quite clear that this opens a wide range of liabilities for the ownership and the corporate management of the park, as the situations we're being put in are both dangerous and potentially life-threatening. Worse, every situation I've listed is easily prevented with a change in attitude and an acceptance of responsibility of the ownership. And yet nothing's done. As homeowners in Mobile Park West, we know from previous long-form applications that the park is extremely profitable to the ownership. Clearly the money's been available in the past to properly maintain the park, and yet they're choosing to let go of that responsibility and let the park slip into a state of disrepair and neglect. Now ownership wants to request a further increase in their revenues, while the park continues to suffer and present a situation rife with liability. Unfortunately, we're a captive marketplace. Once we move in, we can't simply just up and move out. The housing and community development statistics state that less than 3% of mobile homes are ever moved. It's simply too expensive. Our homes are large investments, and yet their values continue to plummet as the common areas we pay for continue to degrade. As homeowners, we're treated with disrespect by the very employees our monthly rents employ. Why should we continue to pay such rents, and in fact begin to pay more, when the management's already failing in their duties and putting our lives and well-beings at risk? We respectfully request that you deny this application tonight. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right. Thank you very much. Lester Anderson.